I think what separates me from others is that I'm in tune with how other departments work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, some people are really just about their craft,
Mm-hmm.
but I think my interests are more broad. So I'm interested in what everybody does, and it makes you better at what you do. Some people may not understand that, but it does.
So it makes you better as a producer, definitely.
Absolutely. Because you know who to hire.
Mm-hmm.
You know the best of the best, you know. What's up, y'all? This is Tory Edwards from Atlanta Influences Everything, and I'm on this week's episode of I Do Film with Cardellia Hunter. Check me out.
My next guest is using the platform to let the world know that Atlanta influences everything. If you're someone who really wants to get behind the scenes in the world of lighting, this episode is for you. He's worked in the camera and electrical department for movies like The Banker and is now producing his own films. I Do Film family, please welcome Tory Edwards. Hi, Tory.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so before we jump into a conversation, look, Atlanta influences everything. Let me see how much Atlanta influences everything. Are you ready?
Oh, let's do it.
Okay. Lemon pepper, wet or dry?
Dry.
Flats or drums?
Both.
Filmmaking or brand consulting?
I'm a filmmaker at heart.
East side or west side of Atlanta?
I lived on both, but I'll say the west side is the best side.
Buckhead or Bankhead?
Definitely Bankhead.
Dinner with Jay-Z or dinner with Oprah?
Oprah.
Why? Why Oprah?
Because I already had lunch with her.
Oh, well,
So-
tell us about that. Okay. I'm sitting next to somebody very important. You didn't touch some greatness, so I'm glad you're here. Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, let me not say. Let me say I would actually do dinner with Jay-Z, but if it's one or the other, I enjoyed kicking it around Miss Oprah Winfrey.
So, how did that come about?
I was working on a film called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks,
Great film.
which I think people should see. I was not full-time on their crew. I was just day playing,
Mm-hmm.
in between shows. And they brought me out, and I came to set that day. I knew she was on the call sheet, and I was just like, well, all right, cool. But when we went to lunch, I sat down, and my friend said, well, you can't sit there. Oprah's sitting there. And I'm like, man, whatever. Because the guy's a jokester. He's like a practical jokester. And I'm like, yeah, Oprah ain't sitting here. He's like, she is. Where'd she go? She went to go get some more salmon. I'm like, there's no way Oprah Winfrey went to get her own salmon. I don't believe it. And he's like, all right, cool. So she starts making her way back. I see her.
Oh, snap.
No, I'm chilling. Because I'm like, she's going to go sit somewhere else. That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And she walked up. A lot of people was just nervous to come near where she was at. And she walked straight up to me. I was like, excuse me, brother, you in my seat. And I was like, wow. And I said, well, I'll move over. I moved over 2 seats. And I said, I thought he was playing. She was like, no. So we had a good conversation, just light, just jokes, Black folk jokes.
Yes.
Just cracking jokes. And we talked about our dogs. She wanted to see a picture of my dog because we were saying, my dog looks like me. And she said, I used to have a dog. And one day I looked at it and was like, damn, you look like me. So I gave her my phone to show her my dog. And she said, this is the most cracked bone I ever seen in my life. You need to go buy another one. And I said, I thought when I came to work today, you was going to say, you get a phone, you get a phone. She's like, wrong show, brother. And we just kicked it and joked the whole time. But a friend of mine who, I won't name him, but he manages a really big artist who's been on Oprah's show. They ate lunch with her before, they ate dinner with her before, and I couldn't describe why Oprah was so cool. But he said he made the most sense of it. She's well-adjusted.
Yes, she is.
She is well-adjusted.
Yes, she is.
So with that, I look at that and say, I don't know if it's in the cards for me to ever reach that level of success. I'm not striving for it, but I ain't turning it down either. But if ever, I want to be that well adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And she's very well adjusted.
Mhm.
And she's a HBCU grad. So,
There you go.
we'll take that.
Take that.
Yes. Producer or gaffer?
Producer.
Speaking of producing, we know that you got your start as a gaffer.
Mm-hmm.
For most people who don't know what a gaffer is, tell the audience.
The gaffer is a chief lighting technician.
Oh, the chief.
That's what they say.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I really got my start as just a rigger, just rigging, and then on to lighting technician,
Okay.
best boy and gaffer. Yeah, I did them all.
Okay.
Mhm.
So for us small people, treat us like we're three. What's a rigger?
A rigger is the person who sets the framework, the power framework around the set before the shot actually happens.
Okay.
So you'll have a rigging team that actually goes in and runs the lines, the power lines. And sometimes it depends, it varies. When you're out on location, they're gonna run the lines of power from where a generator would sit
Mhm.
all around the set and drop off power distribution in places in various places around the set. So when the first team, as we call it, comes in, they can just find where the power distribution or where it's distributed and they can plug into it. So they can move or set lights on set.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'm a PA,
Okay.
right? We start at the bottom,
Mhm.
but I want to be in your department.
Okay.
What's that first job for a PA?
Okay. So honestly, as a PA, it's unlikely that would happen as
Okay.
a PA. Not unlikely, but you'd have to be really intentional, or you'd come to set and say, I like what those guys are doing. I'm going to try to pivot into that.
Mhm.
Because if you're going to PA, you're on track to be in whatever, an AD or, first AD or something like that most times.
Mhm.
But for me, I would say what you would do is find someone or call the union. You would call, IATSE, Local 479. You would probably call them and try to get into the union. Now, it was really hard when I first started because you had to know someone before you can meet someone, if that makes sense.
Isn't that still
It's the
today?
weird, yeah, I believe it is. It's
Yes.
so strange. But it's been a long time for me, so I don't know how much it's changed. But I think a bunch of people may have lied to get in, to be totally frank. But or had people that looked out for them and got them in. But before, when I first came into business, you had to know someone to
Okay.
get in. Like it wasn't just I heard about it or call a number. They wouldn't give you a number.
Right.
And that's how I got in.
Okay. So that
Mhm.
was part of some networking that we're going to get into a little
Yeah.
bit later.
Mhm.
But just to kind of pivot back, the difference between special effects and visual effects, if any.
Special effects and visual effects. Special effects are like you have VFX, you have special effects. So the VFX is visual effects, which is most things that get added in post.
Okay.
Special effects are, I'll give you an example. I worked on a movie called Selma, right?
Yes.
Great movie.
Ava DuVernay.
Oh yeah, she was beautiful. One of the best directors I ever worked for, next to Ron Howard. But there's a scene where they shoot the four little girls. I don't know if historically people know about four little girls who were bombed in a church, I believe,
Birmingham.
in Birmingham.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a very emotional shot, but what brought it to life wasn't the actual shooting itself, but the playback. When you saw the special effects, the debris they shot, the shot was nothing more than uh, a young girl who wasn't a girl, it was a grown woman, her stunt double, dressed like a young girl, but she would just jump back and they would shoot it in super slow-mo, jump back and fall on a mattress. But as she jumped back, special effects department would shoot debris at her, which was really just styrofoam and things of that nature. But on camera, it looked like debris.
Mm,
And everybody was emotional watching those playbacks
I'm
that
sure.
night. Hmm.
Selma was a very good movie.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep, absolutely. So let's move into your producer hat for a little bit. Um, what's so important when it comes to creating?
What's important?
Hmm.
Um, it depends upon your role. So everything. No, your roles are different, and I think they have. There's a different list of what's important or not, depending upon what you're doing. As a producer, I would think detail, like really paying attention to detail and crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
Hmm.
Especially if you're doing something that's a period piece, you want to just make sure you're getting it right factually. But yeah, those things vary. I
Yeah.
think depending upon the department.
So how did you get into the producing world?
I wasn't invited. I just
Took a
like
seat at the table.
nah, never. I don't think there's too much I've done where I was invited. I just kind of invited myself. I was the guy who just invited myself or decided to do something on my own. So the first time I could really say that I produced something that was noteworthy, in my opinion, that's how it started. It started with me wanting to tell a story and just going for it.
So
Mm-hmm.
from lighting to filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
um, you kind of said you just
Every
made your
time.
lane every time.
Yeah, even with lighting. With lighting, I was a freelance videographer. So I
Hmm.
would shoot for everybody, you name it, in this town. Honestly, not just the town. I shot from coast to coast. I used to shoot music videos. I would shoot just behind the scenes, BTS content for anybody who's probably a legend in Atlanta right now. I was shooting for them on the music scene.
Hmm.
Then I wanted to produce a documentary. Had no experience whatsoever. I produced a documentary that I could never get a deal for it or a situation. And I mean, I went coast to coast. So east, all through the south, west coast, shot on everybody you can name. Some of these artists are no longer with us. But when it came to being invited, well, being into the television world, my cousin happened to be the gaffer over at Tyler Perry Studios at the time. And he didn't invite me in. His son, who is a well-known producer, music video producer,
Okay.
but now he's what you would call a commissioner at Atlantic Records. He was the best boy at Tyler Perry at that time. He had the job, and he he gave me a shot.
Okay.
And from there, his father, who I love, but he couldn't stand me. He wanted me to quit because he was like, "You don't want to do this. You want to be a producer."
Hmm.
So he would give me a hard time, and I just became good. And then he was like, "All right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my man."
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's do it. So,
Mhm.
basically, this isn't an easy field to get into.
No,
And like you said earlier, it's not what you know, but who you know.
it was that way. I think it's what you know now. It's
You think it's
becoming
more
what you
what you
know.
know now?
Mhm.
Okay. So tell me, what separates you from others in the role, and what makes you stand out?
I think what separates me from others is that I'm in tune with how other departments work.
Hmm.
I'm not. Some people are really just about their craft,
Hmm.
but I think my interests are more broad. So I'm interested in what everybody does, and it makes you better at what you do. Some people may not understand that, but it does.
So it makes you better as a producer, definitely.
Absolutely. Because you know who to hire.
Hmm.
You know the best of the best. When you're a lighting technician or a gaffer, you should understand what a grip does. You should have knowledge. You should understand what a grip does. You should understand what some people call the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, and that's the DP, the gaffer, and the key grip. If
Okay.
you got to know what they do, because I mean, you can't tell a story without the image. I mean, you can, but then you should go write books if you don't.
Really
If
want to,
you only care about the story and
and
not
not
the
the
image.
image.
Mhm.
Which brings me to this then. What makes a really great scene with lighting?
Lighting is the mood. Lighting is everything. Listen, man, everybody knows the phrase lights, camera,
Camera,
action.
action.
We argue with the grips all the time. The lights, we provide the light, they provide the shadows. So what they do is cut the light and shape it around, but we provide the tone and the mood of the scene. A lighting technician does, or a gaffer. He's the mood.
So what would you say would be your most interesting location that you shot?
Oh, wow. What is the most interesting location? That is a really good question, because the reason why I love it so much is because almost every day is new. Hmm. I would say the Capitol, but that's too easy. Georgia Capitol. Done that a bunch of times in several different movies.
Take us outside of even Georgia.
Um, Outside of film, I could say one of the now, I didn't know it at the time, but as a freelance videographer, looking back on my catalog, being on Crenshaw and Slauson with Nipsey Hussle when he was 19,
Yes.
in the plaza that he died at.
Right.
But just looking back at that footage with him living before he owned it and saying, this is history. But him not even knowing he would own it, but speaking that way,
Speaking into existence.
He was definitely that person way
Yes.
before he became who he
You
was.
just took me back to my roots, Crenshaw and Slauson.
Oh yeah, 60s.
That's
I
home
was
for
over
me.
in that neighborhood.
Ooh, look at you. You up here talking
Hyde
about the
Park.
rolling 60s, y'all, in Hyde Park.
Well, not just the gang, but
Yeah,
that's
but
what they
no,
call it over
it is.
there. Hyde
Yep,
Park.
absolutely.
And, so I've been all through there, and it's interesting now when I go back and I look at the stuff that I shot. It's amazing.
Wow. So let's see. Crenshaw and Slauson with Nipsey before he even, while he was speaking it into existence. Tell me, what was the most difficult project that you worked on?
Kindred.
Really?
Kindred for I don't even have to think about it.
Okay.
Kindred for Disney Effects.
Really?
And we shot it last year.
Why did you say it was difficult?
Because it was the most, man, I hope nobody can get mad at this, man, but it was just the most insane time that I've had on any television show. And I've worked on some stuff when I was talking to someone a few days ago, and I really look back and I rarely even update my IMDb, which I promise I will do more.
Please do.
Starting today. But I would say Kindred for Disney, because not just the locations were difficult. We shot at a horse farm, and it was super heat. I mean, it was just hot, flies everywhere, really uncomfortable conditions. And not only that, but the production itself. I think the company, just, I've always thought this, but that TV show made me say there ought to be a show about making a show.
Wow.
That was, I think the making of that show is more compelling than the show itself.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
I
I
should
probably have
think
to tell
about
you
that.
off camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Yeah, it was insane.
So how do you get on the sets of some of the biggest TV shows and films, and what does networking look like?
It's funny. So what networking looks like answers the first question.
Okay.
You get there by your name, making sure that your name is good throughout the industry. People don't understand. I don't even think the actors can show up late. Like, you have to be on time. Just make sure that you're being professional and, really, really take pride in your craft and what you do. And then people call you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever looked, I ain't gonna say I never, but it's rare that I'm looking for an opportunity. So people call me and it'll, but there was a time when it wasn't like that. But once you work and you start to meet people and your name gets around, that's really, the main thing is just to be reliable. If you're reliable, you're needed. If you're needed, be good when you show up. just be ready to work. I think that's the thing is people would look at it because it's entertainment or it's just, oh, we the movies and you
Mm,
show up late.
that's it.
But you got to understand when you show up late in television, there's 200 people looking at you like, what are you
Okay.
doing?
Yes.
So every piece plays a part, and you just got to play your position well.
Hmm. Yeah. I started off in entertainment. I started off in the music industry,
Mm.
and the comparison of both when it comes to time.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that I'm probably glad in my latter years
Mm.
that I am in the film world
Oh yeah.
because it definitely teaches about being on
Time.
time,
Yeah, there's no
punctuality. I don't care if your networking is the best. If you don't
don't matter.
show up, then that networking just goes right
They
out
want no
the.
parts of you
Absolutely.
because again, films are predicated on time. They're made on time
Yes.
because we only have this location for a certain amount of time.
That's it.
I've worked in music. I shot a lot in music. That's why I stopped doing music videos when artists are showing up 3 hours late
Yes.
and you just waiting on them. I've been on sets where it's a hot set. Host is mic'd, lights, camera, and the artist
No
never
action.
showed up.
Oh wow.
I mean, just never showed up. Stop answering the phone. I
Mm.
won't say who that is,
Nope. We
but
don't need to
it's
know.
definitely somebody everybody knows. But yeah, the difference between film and music is definitely time.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, you've been working on producing your own films.
Hmm.
So, what have you already put out, and like, what's next?
I think my biggest producer credit is uh, a documentary, a VH1 rock doc. It's called ATL Rise. You can look it up. It's funny because it's about everything that I'm doing now with Atlanta influences everything. So it's really about the story of Atlanta culturally and how it became um, just a force in music and culture.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, you say Atlanta influences everything.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on Atlanta being the Black Hollywood?
Uh, I think if such a thing exists, Atlanta's it. Black Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
because the only reason why I kind of hesitate to say that because it's beautiful what's going on in Atlanta,
Yes,
and we do influence everything. That's
we
why
do.
we do. I mean, and I think you don't have to be born and raised in Atlanta to say that because everybody, it's one of those. Are you coming with for a handout or to put a hand in? Everybody should come here wanting to contribute to this great thing. But my thing is the business of film and television
Mm-hmm.
has yet to be uh, headquartered in
Yeah,
Atlanta. I think the business of film and television is where I want to see more black faces being, influential.
yeah,
Tyler Perry, hats off to him. I worked for him. He's a great man, but, Will Packer, we just need more of that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Which you pretty much answered my second question when I said, in order for Atlanta to influence everything, don't you think that more TV and film projects should be greenlit here? We have
Mhm.
so many creatives
Oh,
here.
yeah.
I don't know what that shift is going to be
Mhm.
in order for us to greenlight
Right.
more
I think
projects here.
if and I don't know if that was a question or not, but just to chime in on it, I agree. I think that what it's going to take is more mavericks, more people who are willing, because no one's inviting you,
No.
and there is no seat at a table for you. So stop dreaming about it and go build a table of your own,
Hmm.
and just get to it.
Yeah.
And we just need more people to roll their sleeves up and step out on faith. And I think that's it. And it's not just film, music too.
Yes.
Atlanta's been leading music for how long? I mean, every label should have a office here or a headquarters here.
Mm.
Every music label, every television network, every movie studio should be investing in Atlanta, and not just Atlanta itself, but the people and the culture of Atlanta, and also these beautiful black people that are so genius and was able to go from number 5 to
Yes.
number one in a
Yes.
couple years.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm proud to say I was part of it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Absolutely. So, Atlanta influences everything.
hmm
Where did that come from?
Nike. Thank you, Nike.
Okay.
Man, and I don't, again, man, it's not to put Nike down. I think they just didn't understand. At the time, my partner, Bame, loves all things Atlanta. And Nike created a shoe that was celebratory of Atlanta. But at the time, they didn't think Atlanta, they didn't need to come to Atlanta to promote it. And he lost his mind, as he would. I know
Absolutely.
my partner, Bang, and in the rant, he said Atlanta influences everything.
And we do, and it just took wings from there. So what's the vision for Atlanta influences everything?
Atlanta influences everything really is a creative consultancy. It's not just apparel merchandise, but it's a creative consultancy, and we try to make, or not make, or assist, people or brands to see the value in creators here. We stand on the foundation of what we do is called the 3 C's. The 3 C's is culture, commerce, and community. We think that Black culture is used to sell everything from car insurance to deodorant.
Absolutely.
But what we think is we want to take that same culture and partner it with those same corporate dollars that you use to sell us things, and use that to help solve problems in our community. And it's been working well. It's our very own, our little case study.
Yeah.
And it's working.
Well, I love to wear my Atlanta Influence Everything shirt, especially when I'm traveling.
Exactly.
It catches the eye of anybody in the airport,
Yeah.
or like I said, I'm from LA. When I go home, I'll be like, and then I say, when you think about it, or they'll be like, what does that mean? I was just like, think about it. Think about who's there, what comes out of it, what we stand for. I remember when I moved here many, many moons ago, I called back home and I was like, Mom, we got all the jobs, all the Black people's working. It was just coming from LA, I didn't see this. And even me going to a HBCU, it was only, well, of course you was going to see all Blacks at a HBCU back then. It's more integrated now. But to come to a city, so my Atlanta influences everything has a whole nother meaning to it, which I love.
What I thought was really interesting, we do, retail brick and mortar pop-ups in different locations around Atlanta. And the last one we did was at Pond City Market, which is, it's in the center of town.
Yes.
But it's, it's not, I would say it's maybe 60-40 or 70-30 Black to white. Well, actually white to black. I'm sorry. And I had 2 young ladies come in the store, and one was white and the other was Indian, and they both graduated from Howard, but decided to start their careers in Atlanta. I thought that was it was amazing.
That was very amazing. And so they I'm sure they picked up on the concept of Atlanta.
Oh yeah, they felt, Well, one of them was actually from Atlanta.
Okay.
But she went to school at Howard. Both, that's where they met.
Wow.
And both came back here. One's a doctor, and I forgot what the other was.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. Yeah, that's what HBCU, we are integrating now,
Yeah.
So if you could, let's see, create the perfect film about Atlanta, who would you cast?
Oh boy. Man, I think it's before that, it would be, what's the story that would be told?
Okay.
I think there should be a story about a film, a feature length about Maynard Jackson. And there's a few other stories I would tell, but I think the reason why I say Maynard is because I think, is solely responsible for taking the world's busiest airport from just an airport to international.
Absolutely.
And yeah, he did a lot. So I think that would be dope. Who I would cast? Whew. I got to get back to you on that one. That's a good one.
Okay, you guys, he don't want to, everybody that's out there listening, he don't want to mess up his relationships. Like, why you didn't pick me? Why you didn't choose me?
I would say Terrence Howard, but we'd have to put some weight on him.
Yeah. Tory, it's the year of Hip Hop 50. And I'm sure everybody has their favorite songs and their favorite videos. What's your favorite hip hop music video?
Whoa. Oh, Come on. Uh, this is a oldie for the young folks out there. Get your Googles on. Go to YouTube and watch Night of the Living Bassheads by Public Enemy.
Night of the Living Bassheads by Public Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that.
Yep.
I thought you was finna say Self-Destruction.
Nah.
Uh-huh.
Definitely Night of the Living Bassheads.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Why? Why that video?
Because it was like, I remember early 80s when Michael Jackson was doing like full length music videos with a lot of elements in it that stretched beyond just performance. And they were one of the first to do that. They had skits and the video, you know, and it told a story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your favorite music video that you worked on?
Jagged Edge, Where the Party At.
Good music video.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A lot of high energy. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Why that video?
Because it was a family affair.
Okay.
You know, the guys in the group are all friends of mine, and the director, Brian Barber, who directed Idlewild with Outkast, was one of the first people I met at the AUC. I didn't go to the AUC, but one of my friends I grew up with was his roommate. So I met Brian very early before he was doing any music video.
Wow. Jagged Edge, Where's the Party At?
Mm-hmm.
Great video now that I'm thinking about it. The song is in my head right now. So let's go back a little bit. Working with Ava DuVernay with Selma, how was that?
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. I got to work with Ava on Selma. My cousin, Carl, who his dad was the gaffer at Tyler Perry, who brought too many black technicians into name. He would fight for black technicians in the 70s. He's a legend in the game. He's no longer with us, but Ava always likes to use my cousin, Carl. Whenever he's available, she's used Carl. And on this particular one, Selma, was my first time working with Ava DuVernay. I worked with her on 2 different occasions, but it was the first time seeing a director making just everybody feel, it felt like family, a family environment. And I think she mothered people almost into getting the best out of them. I mean, because that's what a director does.
Yeah. You know, I've had every time she comes to film here, she always requests that our office come out to scout with her. And I don't know, I can't remember if this was Naomi or the DC comment, but we was in the fairly popular district and for them to shut down all the streets.
Wow.
And it was this young lady walking by, probably went to Georgia State, but we were over in that area, and she caught the eye of Ava, and Ava caught the eye of her. Now everybody was out there, you know, her whole design team, everybody. And she was like, hold on a second. And she went and talked to this young lady. And I was just in awe, you know, that she just came out of, which was very important, in the middle of the street and had that conversation and probably changed that young lady's life. And she came right back into, you know, director mode. Every time she comes, I get excited when I know that she's going to come here.
My cousin Carl was the gaffer on Naomi. And what I remember with Selma was she hadn't blown up yet. I mean, she was important to those who knew, but I want to say Selma was like, it was, so this is before this is happening, and everybody is, they gave us books at the end. As a rap gift, they gave us these nice books with photographs from throughout the entire production. And everybody was getting the lead actor to sign their book, but I got Ava to sign mine. Because I just was like, telling people, y'all don't know.
Here's the masterpiece right here.
Yeah, she's amazing, man. She's definitely amazing.
So can you tell our listening audience what's next for Tory Edwards?
What's next for me? I think the next thing for me is to tell stories through the lens of Atlanta, the culture of Atlanta, the people, historically. I think that's it for me. More stories about Atlanta.
That would be great. Can't wait to see them. Absolutely. How can our audience keep up with you?
I think the best way is, for now, you can follow on Instagram. Atlanta Influences Everything. And I rarely give it out, but my Instagram is Map Makers, MAPMAKERS. You can follow me and just see my movements and what's been going on.
You guys hear that? Follow him to see his movements because he's moving on up.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise.
I know that our audience received some great gems from you.
I hope.
And, as we take this somewhere big, you'll come back and be with us.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, that's a wrap for us today. But make sure you tune in every Tuesday to catch more jewels of I Do Film. Follow us on all social media platforms at I Do Film Atlanta. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm your host, Cardellia Hunter. Thank you for joining. I'll see you next time.